Yeah, but let's move on. So one thing that's been really interesting to me whenever we talk about the 49ers defense and especially the secondary, it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Jason Verrette's going to get injured. And people are just acting like he's not on our team. Like, it's just like, okay, who's going to be the person that replaces him? We have a weak secondary. It's just like nobody's acting as if Jason Verrette is going to play. And I understand that because obviously his track record hasn't shown a lot of the ability to stay healthy. But one thing that we have to take under consideration is Jason Varrette signed a 1-year contract when he could have pushed for a multiple-year contract coming off of the best season that he's had in quite a long time. So he believes that maybe he's figured something out to stay healthy, and he's banking on himself to have a really productive season because unless he could show that he could stay healthy the whole season and produce, he's not going to get a big money long-term contract, which is obviously what he's vying for, betting on himself for that 1 year. So tell me a little bit about what a healthy Jason Verrette does for the 49ers secondary and what kind of player he is and how that would benefit the defense as a whole.
Yeah, I before I get there, I agree with what you're saying. I think that he definitely bet on himself for this season. If my memory serves me correctly, he had some offers that would have been for multiple seasons, like 2 or 3 years, but they weren't going to pay him quite as what he thought he was deserved, and so that's why he decided to come back to San Francisco and bet on himself, as you said, and kind of on a prove it deal, which works out really good for the 49ers. And the reason it works out good for the 49ers is because when he's healthy, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He's shown that in the 2 seasons that he's been healthy. When he was down in San Diego, the 1 year while he's there, and the 1 year last year here in San Francisco, he shows the ability to be a top level cornerback that really can shut down the best receivers in the league. He did it against DeAndre Hopkins, in Arizona at the end of the season, and he played well throughout once he got the call in place of Richard Sherman. And the impact that he brings is he allows them to run a lot more man coverage because he's able to lock it down, and that allows them to be a little more aggressive also with their linebackers and their blitz packages, linebackers and safeties. So if Jason Verrette can stay healthy for the majority of 2021, it's going to be a huge bump for the 49ers.
And, obviously, I think the NFC West probably has the biggest gauntlet of receivers of any division, right? You were talking about, it pretty much seems like there's 2 wide receiver ones with every single team in the NFC West. So having a lockdown corner that you could kind of leave in man-to-man coverage to guard somebody one-on-one is imperative. Tell me some of the, when you're looking at film of Jason Verrette, what makes him so elite? Like, what about his game causes him to be a type of player where you could trust him one-on-one against elite receivers that he's going to be, facing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, he has the ability to stick to guys, like, as I mentioned, in man coverage, but he's also really good with his eyes. You go back, and I don't remember which game it was. I think it was the Rams game, where he's in coverage down low, and he's in man coverage, but he's also got his eyes in the backfield, and he sees the pass is going to go behind him, and he jumps off of his man and goes and picks off the ball in the back of the end zone. I think that was against the Rams. So it's plays like that you see from him. He's a smart football player that knows, that can see everything that's happening in front of him, and is able to make plays that aren't necessarily as they're drawn up. And I think that's what makes a player, instead of just a good football player, makes him special. It makes him, a top player for any team. That's what we saw a little bit of Richard Sherman in 2019 in the beginning of the season, and that kind of wore off as he got tired throughout that year.
Now, it seems like with DeMeco Ryans taking over the reins with the defense and the style of cornerback that they brought in through the draft this season, with a guy like Ambry Thomas, who also is an aggressive on the line of scrimmage, man-to-man type cover corner. It seems like maybe the defense is scheming towards playing more man-to-man. Obviously, we saw it a little bit at the end of last season, them playing more man-to-man and less of that zone type defense that they were playing. What do you think that, or do you believe that that's the style that they're about to switch to, or do you think it's still going to be, kind of the zone coverage that Salah used to play a lot?
I think we're going to see more of the man coverage. I think that's why they went out, and in the draft, the guys that they drafted are guys who have shown the ability to play very well in man coverage. Ambry Thomas, played a ton of man coverage at Michigan. That was really their base defensive coverage in 2019 and in the earlier part of his, during his career there. I know in 2019 they did play a little bit more zone under Dan Brown, but before that they were definitely a man coverage team all the time. So he's a guy who definitely fits that, and so does Lenore. So I look to see more man coverage from the 49ers than we've seen in the past. Probably somewhere along the lines of what we saw in the second half of last season. Maybe, I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot more than that, because we saw quite a bit of it once Varrette replaced Sherman, and Sherman was basically out of the mix.
And what do you think that will do as far as opening up things for the rest of the defense, especially with the kind of talent we have on the defensive line? Being able to go man and have the corners just kind of play man with their receiver, what does that do for guys like Fred Warner, guys like Bosa, guys like Ebicom? How does that change what they have to do with their, I guess, designated roles?
Well, I think what we're going to see is you're going to see more blitzing, and the 49ers have a lot of versatility between their linebackers and their safeties. Jimmy Ward and Jaworski Tart bring a lot of versatility to be able to mix and match who they're covering, in man coverage as well on the back end. So you have them, you'll be able to have them manned up on the outside, but those guys, you're not sure who's manning who, and one of them is going to probably be coming on a blitz. So that's going to help the defensive line out. Like, so Samson Ebicom and Nick Bosa, they're going to get helped out, I think, a little bit by blitzing from the linebackers and safety positions. That kind of seems to be the general consensus that you continue to hear as the 49ers players have been interviewed throughout the offseason, is that they're looking to be more aggressive, be more in that playmaker role. And I think a lot of that's going to be coming from them blitzing and being put in man coverage situations where they have opportunities to create turnovers that way.
That's going to be exciting to see. If the 49ers can now be a team that turns the ball over a lot in the secondary, that defense could just even take another level of, up as far as their elite ability, especially with that D line to have corners that could actually intercept the ball. That's going to be pretty amazing to see.